Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, guys, I see late start today. Yes, it is. That's on me. I was doing an interview over at for the UK Broncos, which will be a lot of fun. That'll
Nick
drop
was going
later.
international and
Yes, I
had to be
was.
late.
Yes, I was. Yep, Thomas over on the account Denver Broncos UK. You guys can follow him at UK Denver Broncos. Did an interview over with him, and he's such a good question asker that I couldn't make the stream while he was pinning it off me. So appreciate you guys waiting for me, and here we are. We're talk a little bit of ball this morning, and I guess we should announce that Chad already approved this too. We only have, gosh, let me see what today. 1, 2, 3 more Monday shows until we are not doing Mondays until things start to ramp up again. So Memorial Day, you guys take time for yourself.
Probably
Scott and
August.
I.
So we'll probably do probably August. We'll probably just do June and July. We'll take Mondays off or find something else to do.
For sure. Yeah, I might be sparingly available in August because my August has like 3 backpacking trips in it right now. And I've been working weekends to accumulate hours so that way I can be a ghost in August. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But only a few more Mondays getting in here. Let's say hello to some people in the chat. DWI guys coming in saying late start. Yes, late start. Good morning, gents in Broncos country. Good to see you, DWI guys. We also got Dave Glassman in the house. Glad I did a second take. I almost went back to bed. Oh, man, to go back to bed, that would be great. No, it's okay. You can listen to us in bed. That's fine. That'd be a lot of fun. Scott's pulling up the Facebooks now. EJ's in the house. Good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Glad Broncos for Breakfast is on. I thought I would have to case the Mondays without BFB. Sorry about the news I just dropped a little bit ago, but we got to rest our voices a little bit before the season starts because we're going to have plenty to scream and shout about when the season starts, no doubt. Dave Glassman's in the house. Good to see you, Dave. Facebook user. Unsure who you are. Sometimes it'd be like that, but morning to you as well. Ashton's in here. Good morning to Ashton. And JD801 in the house saying morning from Park City, Utah. Beautiful.
One of my favorite places on earth is Park City, Utah. That's where I learned to ski in Park City. So love Park City, Utah. Yep.
Yeah, I've only skied once in my life, and it was in Wisconsin. So I would not say that I'm much of a skier.
Hey, I didn't start till I was 30.
Okay, so it's not too late.
I've got good balance, and I'm not afraid to go fast, so I picked it up quickly, and I had a lot of fun. I was on my first week in Park City. I was on blacks on the 4th day. I went, but it was steep. It was like as long as they were groomed, I'm good. I'm like, I don't mind going down fast. I still don't do moguls. I'm too old for those. Those just kill me. Don't have the technique to do moguls, but I'll do speed. I'll do steep. So love Park City. I haven't been out there in too long.
Well, he's staying at your place, JD. He's coming out there, going to do some skiing. Luke Wright's in the house. Good morning, Nick and Scott. Awesome to see you. We got Scott Dillon coming into it. I don't recognize the name Scott Dillon. Hello to you over on Facebook. Good morning to you, Scott. And US Dave saying good insurance for the skiing. Yeah, you better have some good insurance if you're doing that. And Mark Schrader coming in. Good morning to you, Mark. How was your weekend, Scott?
Sir, as always. Thank you.
Hell yeah, Mark. We appreciate you. How was your weekend, Scott? A lot of soccer, baseball.
A lot of driving.
What was your life?
A lot of driving. So noon. It was just one day, like 24-hour period for the most part, and it feels like it was a week. So we left at 7:30 in the morning for Greensboro, which is about 3 hours. Greensboro, South Carolina. Played a game, drove 3 hours down to Charleston, South Carolina, played a game on Sunday, and then drove 5.5 hours back. Got back last night, threw a steak on the grill for my wife. Happy Mother's Day, everybody. And here we are. So it was kind of about 13 hours in the car for my weekend. Yay! But it was fun. The boy played good. He played good.
Good. Well, that's awesome to hear. We got also EJ coming in saying Scott has a need for speed. And Luke Wright saying he's from Utah as well. He likes snowboarding as much. I hear the skiing and snowboarding out here. We have snow in the passes and whatnot out here in Washington, but it's too wet. Is that a thing? I don't know anything.
The snow can get sticky. And I never was like, oh, we love the fresh powder. I didn't get that because when I first started, I wasn't on steep enough slopes. And fresh powder, when you're not steep, all it does is drag your skis down. You're like, this sucks. What are people talking about? And then I got on, one of these in powder, and then it's just like falling down a cloud. It's awesome. Like, oh, this is what people are talking about with fresh powder. The stuff I like, the blues and double blues I've been skiing, they suck in powder. You just get bogged down.
Yeah.
So yeah. A need for speed, probably. I've been skydiving. I've had motorcycles. I have all that stuff. Now I have a golf cart. That's what I have now, a golf cart. And yeah, I want an upgrade. It's not fast enough.
Get some NOS on that bad boy. Some woofers too. Mile High Truth coming in. Yo, good to see you, Mile High Truth. JD is also saying you're always welcome in Utah. Yeah, welcome in, guys. Obviously, Broncos for breakfast. You haven't done so yet. You guys are trickling in because I was late getting the stream started. God, I was up. I went to the office last night at like 10 o'clock filling out applications for moving into a new place because they have a printer and the actual PDF editing software. Yeah, it's God.
Moving sucks.
Oh, it's such a pain in the butt out here too, because like a house gets put on Zillow and like an hour later it has 100 interactions. So it's you have to haunt.
Got to get an agent, man. You have to have an agent because they know about the stuff. If it's hit Zillow, you're too late.
Yeah,
in this market.
Yep, it's that it seems to be the reality. That's we'll bring that up on Wednesday, Scott. No, but it's no, it's a long weekend in that regard. But excited to be here Monday, and I'm gonna be gone later this week because I'm flying out to a wedding in Chicagoland. So it'll be I
got a surprise host, a surprise co-host for Thursday morning. So we'll be here for Broncos for breakfast. It'll be a surprise.
Absolutely. Well, it's a surprise to me as well. So that'll be fun, and it'll be fun to get out of Seattle for a little bit to see some family and friends out there. So it'll be great. So today we're going to be talking about the Broncos rookie draft class again. There's still plenty of meat on the bone with that. And there's some other topics we wanted to dive into as well. But first, as the dust has started to settle in this class, I'm curious about this class, and we're going to go through it pick by pick. What our expectations are for these guys year one. What's their role? Who are they battling? What's their best usage? Scott, do you have any feelings about, do you want to start at the bottom, start at the top? What makes sense to you?
Oh, it doesn't matter to me. We might want to start at the bottom because we start at the top. We only get to 2 picks.
Yeah. That's a good point. Very true. So we have the first pick for the Broncos in 7th, or I guess the last pick for the Broncos. First one we'll talk about today for the Broncos is Theon Hicks, cornerback out of Wisconsin. Smaller guy, tested pretty darn well for the Badgers at their pro day, and he has good speed, has been kind of had issues with giving up big plays there at Wisconsin. Now Wisconsin has a very aggressive front. They do like to send a lot of blitz over there in the Badgers defense under Jim Leonard, which is one of the top, consistently been a top 5 defense in all of college football. So getting at least some blue blood in that regard. But Theon Hicks, I'll be honest with you, just point blank, I don't think he's going to make the team this year. I think he does have a shot if he really stands out and can become that like backup slot player. But I think it's much more likely he is on his way to the practice squad this season, which is fine. Yep.
Yeah.
And we'll see. I mean, what I'm hoping for, honest to God, is that he comes in and we can Kerry Vincent Jr. him. Oh, you took him in the 7th round? We're going to flip him for a 6. That would be amazing. But other than that, I don't have super, super crazy thoughts on Theon Hicks.
Yeah, I mean, 5'10", 192, 7th round pick again. At this point, you're looking, why do we need this guy? And it didn't matter where you were picking or who you were picking, what position. If you're picking somebody in the 7th round and he makes a team, you got something. If you flip him for a 6th rounder, you got something. Yeah. But I feel like a practice squad player here. But they'll get their chance to come in and play. We talk about all the time, you can never have enough defensive backs. It's just the way the league has become. You'll have 6 on the field. So in a lot, you'll have 6 defensive backs on the field a lot. So how many defensive backs do you need on the roster, at least between the practice squad and the roster? At least 10. So do you have 10 right now? You need 6 competent, and then the better you have in the backups, the more you have in the backups that can play, the better. So practice squad, that's kind of what I see right now, but we'll find out. We'll see. Be interested to get to camp, to fall camp.
Yeah, no, Broncos take a shot on him. I guess we're talking about his best pathway to the field this season. It will be special teams. If he comes in and can, make an impact as a gunner or anything like that, then you have a shot, man. You might kick off somebody on that roster who would surprise us, given especially the perceived value that I see the Broncos are putting on special teams this year. I mean, they essentially just gave a 5th round pick to Dwayne Stukes and took I won't say reach, but took a punter or a kick returner much earlier than anybody thought he would go. And a lot of these picks scream special teams. So special teams year one, if he can make an impact there, you might have some hard decisions on that cornerback room.
It's by the looks of the draft, George Payton was the only one that cringed at the Broncos special teams last year.
Yeah.
that there was a lot of that going around. And, frankly, put on punt block and field goal block, your number 2 pick could be coming off the edge quite often too. Nick Benito could see some time there as well. And good for him. He's a great athlete. Go get ball. Well, the processing, all that stuff. No. Forget all that. Get ball. Don't run into the kicker. Don't hit the quarterback late. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, that's all you need to know. We'll see how the Broncos special teams shapes up this season. Like I said earlier this morning, I was on a interview for UK Denver Broncos.
Yeah, you said that already, Mr. Bragg.
Yeah, it's fun. But he kind of made it like, oh, what is how are you feeling about Russell Wilson being a Denver Bronco? I'm like, well, I'm having a hard time carrying much or getting angry about any of the other things. Like right tackle, special teams. You know what? Those are fun questions now because they actually matter. Before it was, oh, what about the Broncos at the linebacker? Doesn't matter because the quarterback sucks too much. Nothing even compares. You got to answer that question first before getting
car's
there.
Out of gas. It doesn't matter if the tires are flat. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
I don't have any gas. We're not leaving the driveway anyway.
100%. Somebody is going to help us get some gas in our car. Jacob Foster with the support over on Facebook, the silent one. Thank you so much, Jacob. We appreciate you. And good morning to you. Hope you had a good weekend. Happy belated Mother's Day also to everybody on there. I don't know if Scott and I haven't had a chance to do that yet. So a shout out to all the moms and all your guys' moms as well. You wouldn't be here without those moms. So shout out to them.
One.
Gotta look out there, man. I called all the mothers yesterday in my life. So that's not every single one, but all the ones related to me and my wife. So good to see Gary Leeds Palmer also coming in saying good morning, Broncos for breakfast, family and fans. Good to see you, Gary. Gary also comes in and drops a like on Facebook as well. Actually dropping a heart. So you guys be like Gary, give us the reaction here, the thumbs up, and we'll keep the ball rolling. And the DWI guy saying UK Broncos, that's his Twitter account. I've been on his show probably once or twice a year, every year, doing a podcast interview. His name is Thomas, and he runs the Twitter account at UK Denver Broncos. And he's like, hey, what time can you come on? I'm like, I guess 6 a.m. works best for me because of the UK time difference.
6 a.m. And it's probably, let's see, 2 o'clock over there, 2 o'clock in the afternoon right now.
Yep. So that worked best
for me.
Back
from lunch. I'm like, I'm just getting up in the middle of the night to pee.
Yeah, I am a tired one, but it was a good show. And we also thank you so much for the support, UK Broncos, or TWI guys and UK Broncos. Ethan, great to see you. Hope your Mother's Day was great as well. Uber Nasty coming in saying good morning, Broncos peeps. And Keith, friend of the show and writer for Mile High Huddle, and definitely knows a thing or two about the UK, saying teams, of course, special teams, of course, has been a disaster. Speed and willingness could go a very long way. Yeah, absolutely. What do you think about how much is the special teams coach actually matter for the output of special teams? I mean, I know that's like the Broncos like to put a lot on, oh God, his name's already escaped me, just flushing that season down the drain. The Broncos. McMahon. Yes. Tom McMahon. How much does that even matter? Or is it all, about the X's and O's?
I kind of always joke that the special teams coach goes to like, the last coach's nephew or the owner, somebody just trying to get into. It's like an internship almost. But when you've got a good coach, and when you've got a bad coach, and I don't know. It's just, I was listening to, McMahon every week. He'd come out on Thursdays or something for a few. Yeah. And it was like, yeah, that's on me. We've got to get better there. I need to do better there. I'm like, and on repeat, like 17 times I heard that. And, what is it? You're not, we always talk about it's the Jimmies and Joes, not the X's and the O's. But how much of it is, just being in the right lane and correcting obvious mistakes? The coach in me it drives me crazy to see simple things just not being corrected. I'm around kids. I talk about kids all the time. But it's even worse when they're professionals.
Yeah.
How does the same mistake keep happening over and over and over again? And how can you can't be that bad on special teams and returns and return coverage without a systematic failure. Yeah. Now, can you help that with personnel? Yeah. Can you help it with schemes? Yes. Yeah. Can you help it with man management from the very top and your head coach and getting people a little bit more excited to play? Nick, we said before, it hit me in about week 4 or 5 that this team had given up on the coach. They were done. That was when I was like, okay, this is a dead man walking. That may have been the first time I used that phrase for Vic Fangio, was week 5. What is more effort-based than special teams?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not much. Maybe your pass protection or pass rush, even, unrelenting. But you have to especially kickoff and all the core four kickoff coverage.
Watch
Both
a
ends.
gunner sometimes.
Yep.
Fighting trying to beat a double team to run 60 yards downfield. Watch a gunner.
Yep.
And tell me that guy doesn't have heart. And if he's not playing with heart, it's easy. If your gunners aren't getting downfield, it's easy returns. And if it's one-on-one blocking on the outside, trying to block those guys' gunners, if they've got the juice and you don't, they're going to beat you downfield. Now there's no to return. And how good was KJ Ham or Deontay Spencer anyway?
Yeah, not very good. So his teams has been a disaster. Hopefully we'll get better there. We got Isaiah's coming in saying, "Oh man,
we got this now. The non-Spanish for you figured it out now. Broncos for breakfast.
Yep, Bronquitos de Desayuno.
Desayuno. Yeah.
Love it, Isaiah. Thank you so much. Jeremy also coming in and saying Nick Kendell, a lover of all mothers. Absolutely. Who can't?
No, never mind. That could go bad. And her, I was like, remember the Titans. That's a mama joke.
I gotta love the Yo Mama jokes. Those are a good time. Middle school. Wilhelm Valderrama, that show on MTV. Good times. Gail coming in here saying watching from Muskogee, Oklahoma. Good to see you, Gail. Excuse me. Isaiah's also coming in saying, what are the realistic odds the Broncos finish last in the division? What do you think here, Scott? What are the realistic odds the Broncos finish last?
I don't think it's out of the question. Theoretically, you could go 10-7 and be in fourth place in this division.
Yep.
So, it sounds awful. Oh, you finished last. I don't think that would be the case. But if you go 10-7 and finish fourth and make the playoffs, all right. Some things went the wrong way, but if you're in, who else was 10-7 last year? Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
You're starting with a new coach, a new scheme, a new quarterback. How are you finishing the season? Because maybe you got off to a 4-5 start, and then finished. What would that be? 6-2 to finish?
Mm-hmm.
And you finish 6-2 to finish 10-7, and you're a force in the playoffs. So it's all relative. How realistic? It's not out of the realm of possibility by any stretch.
Yeah.
I wouldn't pick them to finish last. 15 to 20%, maybe, that you're fourth in the division. 5-1, call it.
Yeah, that seems realistic odds. This is going to be maybe Monday morning cloud over our head here on this one, but I think the Broncos' odds of finishing last place are probably about equal to their odds finishing first place. This season, you're probably much more likely to finish second or third, given where Denver is. I think Vegas is pretty squarely the seller. They're still going to be a good team, but as far as preseason perception, I think their Vegas win totals at 8.5, where Denver and LA are at 10, and the Chiefs are at 10.5. So that's about the pecking order there, but that's close.
There's not a lot of separation there, for goodness sakes, on a 17-game season. That's a one-game swing here or there, especially if it's a divisional game.
Yep. No, it'll be hopefully they've just packed the football calendar with primetime games of the AFC West this year. Going to be a lot of good football games out here. Michael Ronquillo coming in here saying, good morning, Nick and Scott. I'm Broncos for breakfast. Let's ride and go Broncos. Good to see you, Michael. We also have the blank coming in on Twitch with the Russell Wilson sticker, I think, on Twitch. So that's pretty awesome. It's the Russell Wilson and somebody going, shh. Okay, the shushing them. So, that's how I feel about all of their questions and issues with the Broncos. That's we're shushing it right now because they'll play themselves out, but how much do they matter? Yeah, whatever. Lawrence Rivera saying, is it going to be a problem with our defense not being as stacked as always? It seems thin for our run right now. I mean, is the defense going to be a problem? Potentially, but I think that's much more of a question on coaching than it is the personnel. I don't think this is, the 2015 Denver Broncos defense as far as personnel goes, but they have the unit to be a top 15, top 10 unit. And if your offense is top 10, that's good enough. I mean, that's what most of the Super Bowls have been recently.
Well, and for me, this is a question that there's a term for this, the science, and you might know. When I ask a question with the fallacy, it's like, is it a problem with our defense not being as stacked as always? You're almost, that makes the assumption that it's not as stacked as it's been in the past. And I would disagree with that before I would even answer the question. So I'm not going to assume that it's not as stacked as always, because from a personnel front, this defense has gotten better. This defense has gotten better than it was last year. Period. So you're better in the slot corner. You're better at edge. You're better on the defensive line. So, is it going to be a problem not being stacked? Well, was it a big problem last year? I don't think the defense played great last year. Statistically, there were some good things about it. But again, if you look at the efficiency metrics that Nick likes to point to say, yeah, they didn't give up a ton of points. That's because there weren't a ton of possessions. They were giving up plenty of points per possession on long, painstakingly dull drives that ended in points. So I think the defense from a personnel standpoint has improved. Now, how will they play?
Yeah, no, the only one where it's like kind of like if we were talking a year ago, the edge rushers we know now should be improved, but going into last season, Bradley Chubb and Von Miller, there was some reason for hope. More depth this season, no doubt, though, that we can feel comfortable about. Benjamin Flores coming in saying, "Morning, men, have a good week and go Broncos." Good to see you, Benjamin. With Billy Homan's in the house. Hello, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Good to see you. And let's keep it going here. Also, Michael Kerr's in the house. Morning, Broncos. Morning to you, Michael. Broncos 6th-round pick. Matt Henningsen, taking him out of Wisconsin as well, back-to-back Badger picks. So we're talking the pathways to the field this season for these guys. And Scott, this might be a hot take, but I think Matt Henningsen actually has a chance to make this team and be a contributor this season, just because there is such a massive question mark and a hole at that 4-eye position, the Shelby Harris hole that has been left on defense. You had to go ahead.
No, I thought you were finished. Apologies. When you start talking about Melvin Agim as being penciled in as a starter, then anybody coming in has a chance to get on the field. Yep. Melvin Agim hasn't proven to be a starter level quality player in this league. So you'll have your chance, Melvin. You'll go into camp. But if I'm a draft pick, if I'm Matt Henningsen coming in, if I'm a 290-pound defensive lineman, I'm thinking I got a chance to play early on this team. And that's exciting. That should be motivating.
Yeah, no, McTelvin Agim is definitely, the gauntlet is thrown down for him this season. He's one of those guys that maybe George Payton's looking to trade for extra draft capital, because not one of his picks, not somebody who has made the team yet. Former 3rd-round pick, still 2 years of control. There is value to that kind of guy on the market. So maybe you can get a 6th-round pick, or
I was thinking 5th
even, or maybe a 5th and send a 7. There's value to that, no doubt. And he can do. He can get after the passer. He's seen that in camp. We've seen that in his limited action in the season as well. He's pretty good pass rusher. It's just his discipline and his run defense have been, left us wanting. So we'll see about that one. But you're definitely right. Matt Henningsen, he is exceedingly smart, and he was asked to do the ugly work, do the dirty work for Wisconsin up front, muck things up, occupy blockers, and allow guys like Leo Chanel get a one-on-one block from the A-gap as a mug linebacker. The reason he's getting one-on-ones, or, not even a guy blocking him with a free rush, is because you have Henningsen doing a lot of dirty work there. Now, the best player on that Wisconsin front, in my opinion, was their nose tackle, who didn't declare early in Benton, but Henningsen had a good year for them. I wouldn't be shocked at all if he ends up being the best, guy who's eating double teams or gap and a half and ends up winning the starting role. But I think it's just as likely he doesn't make this team, but the back end of the defensive line and the reps and depth there are going to be interesting to follow in camp. It's one of the areas that I'm most intrigued about.
And as you were describing him, I'm like, well, this sounds like a perfect 3-4 end. His job is to keep the linebackers clean. That's what you want him to do, is occupy 2 blockers, and the in a base, if you've got 2 inside linebackers on the field, is to keep them clean. You got speed at the second level. They're the ones that are going to be making all the tackles. That's his job. How well did Agim do that, or is he capable of doing it as far as doing the dirty work that a 3-4 end has to do? And that'll be the big question coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Bama X saying, good morning, Broncos country. Happy Monday. Happy Monday to you as well, Bama X. Good to see you here. We also have Clee's in the house. Good to see you, Clee. And Jeremy, oh man, coffee's not kicking, and no pass rush equals no fly zone. We need a little bit of double no there. We do want the no-fly zone, but without the pass rush, you don't get that. We also have Josh Mays coming in saying Melvin Gordon, talking about the Broncos bringing back Melvin Gordon, is a solid backup, and anyone at that position has. Oh, he's talking about McTelvin. Excuse me, McTelvin Agim.
No, I actually, in my brain was still on McTelvin, so I went straight there too. So thank you, Josh.
Yep, McTelvin Agim, solid backup, but anyone in that position has a shot to see the field. absolutely correct there. I will say that one of Scott's favorite. I'd be surprised if he ends up being a starter, just because his ability to handle gap and a half is not his strength, and you'd be miscasting him in that. And that's Desean Williams. I think Desean Williams is a good pass rusher from that spot, but he's diminutive. And if you're asking him to take on guys rather than try to press a gap, it's not going to work out as well for you. I think he's a very good sub package player. You're going to have a spot for him to get after it there. But if you want, we're talking that 3-4 or 5-1-5 kind of look there, with the 5 guys along the defensive front. That's probably not as much Desean Williams, especially when you have Draymond Jones playing the opposite side. He's the guy that you want to
Desean Williams is a playmaker in situational packages where he can come in and use his quickness to disrupt, get into the offensive backfield, not necessarily hold up against obvious, in running situations to hold up that down in and down out. But I do really like him on this team because of his ability to get into the backfield. If you've got a guy that can, from the defensive line, from an interior spot, and yes, a 3-4 end for me is still an interior lineman. Basically, defensive tackle is just maybe one gap out, but not quite an end. If you've got a guy that can get into the offensive backfield from that spot, he's worth hanging on to, and Desean Williams can do that.
Yeah. And we also have Isaiah's coming back in saying Mike Purcell's days are numbered. I love the defensive front with our new pick. Yeah, Mike Purcell, I mean, he's older. He's dealt with injuries. His plays regressed, and you can save a little bit of money moving on from him. I'd be pretty surprised if he makes this team in the end. And, it's not totally disrespectful to him, but, if you can go younger and cheaper and healthier, that's how football works. It's a young man.
Rookie-er.
Yeah, I think you're probably going to see a DJ Jones playing most of that.
And that's the thing is I don't think we're going to see this as much straight 3-4 suffer ball as we've seen in the past, where you have to have, if you're 300 pounds and a 3-4 at nose guard, you're too light. You're too small. You're going to need some size there. Now we'll get to him, but Awuzarike fits that bill, but I don't necessarily want him coming in there as a rookie. Either right now. I'd like to have some veteran there.
Yeah, absolutely. And DWI guys, Ethan coming in saying, is Henningsen the guy they described as a Goodwill Hunting? Yes, that's the guy. He got his master's degree already in chemical engineering, and he also has went to Wisconsin, a 4.0 student in, I think, mechanical and chemical engineering. So very smart guy. Yep. Yeah, he's just write it all up on the whiteboard, Matt. We'll have a good time. But no, it was definitely Henningsen there. We also got Uber Nasty coming in saying Washington or Cadence Davis for the return man. It better damn well be Washington if they use a 5th round pick on him with other guys still on the board, and he can't beat out an undrafted free agent. I'm going to be as pissed as you can be for a 5th round pick. So it better be Washington.
Yeah, that's why he's there. He'll get first chance. So when they go out there, and they usually run out there the first day of open camp, they'll have 3 guys returning punts. Washington will be one of them. By the time they hit the end of the preseason, Washington should be the only one of them.
Yeah, no, it's if it's not Washington, then Dwayne Stukes, we're going to give you another room for the draft next season, because listen to you wanted your guy, and what are we doing here? An undrafted free agent beat out a 5th round pick. That one would piss me off a little bit. Not gonna lie. So obviously you want the best guy to play in the end and win in the end, but that's not just a throwaway pick. 5th round last year, the Broncos got Caden Stearns. You shouldn't just treat it like a throwaway. And if you draft a guy who is only a kick returner or a punt returner and doesn't make your team at that spot, that's throwing away a pick. So that would tick me off. I would not be okay with that. Montreal Washington better win. So
just, me, I always look and see, well, who else was available at the time?
Braxton Jones.
What number pick was he?
He went in the middle of the 5th round. I couldn't.
5th. Oh, good Lord. Otito Ogbonnia went at 160 in the middle of the 5th. Yep. So he only went 2 picks beforehand. You know, so Ogbonnia, Washington.
Braxton Jones
was still available. Braxton Jones at 168. Luke Wattenberg. You ended up getting him too.
We got him. Yeah.
But a good player. John Ridgway. You talk about needing some size at 330 pounds at nose guard. Kingsley Enagbare from South Carolina, an edge rusher with some upside. So there's Matt Ariza. If you want to hit special teams.
Yeah.
Kieran Johnson, another special teams team, and outside linebacker edge from Kansas. Linebacker Darian Beaver. There's a lot. There were a lot of good players. Yeah, there's a lot of guys in there that I like that could help. That could help your team. Amari Barno, You
Matthew
want to talk
Butler.
about, some trait guys. How about an edge that's running a 4.3? I don't know if he can do anything else, but he's an edge. He's 240 pounds and can run a 4.3 in the 6th round. So yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one.
Yeah, that one was head scratching. Still, we'll see how it turns out. Tyson Anderson was still there. I don't even care. You took another defensive back later. Why not take a guy who's bigger, faster, stronger than Theon Hicks? You also had Dominique Robinson, who Dane Brugler has rated as a late 3rd round pick, I believe. Matthew Butler went to the Raiders. That was one of my favorite pick by the Raiders, unfortunately. So yeah, that one's. I guess we can just get right into it here because we already talked about Henningsen. But Montreal Washington path to the field this year. Again, better damn well be the starting kickoff returner because you used a 5th round pick on him. So that's it for somebody.
Touches.
Yep, and that's somebody who
end up with 4 or 5 touches a game. So let's see.
Yeah,
let's see.
Absolutely, it's never feels great when other teams are like, I didn't have a draftable grade on that guy, and he's like, yeah, I was no way in hell I was expecting to be drafted, but go out there and prove those guys right. Montreal.
Nick, I got a story. When I was doing football recruiting, Auburn offered this guy. I went to Auburn. I was pretty in with their fans and stuff. And they offered this guy from this high school where one of my good friends was the head coach at that high school. And he had just left for a 1AA job. Okay. So he was just left the college. And he said, Scott, we weren't going to offer him at the 1AA job. And these guys are giving me hell that why do you only have him 2 stars? You think you know more than this? He's at Auburn. I'm like, let's just see. His own coach wasn't going to offer him at a 1AA school, and you're giving me hell. Come on. But you don't come out and rail the kid like that. That's where it's a little more fun to do pro guys because you can be a little bit more honest. Well, guess who ended up being right on that one? Yep. The old high school coach.
Yeah, that's going to happen sometimes. And you have Iowa guys finding quarterbacks from South Dakota move to tight end and they end up being 1st round draft picks kind of thing. So it's you never know. I had to get my Iowa shot in there. Lawrence Rivera saying, I see a lot of amazing shorter guys that don't get looked at a lot because of height, yet they are some of the best players. I think the height stuff has gotten a little bit less impactful in today's game. It's not as valuable, but if you're way too short, then that can be a thing. But when you're talking about guys getting overlooked, it's always a chance that's going to happen, but then there's, thousands of short guys who didn't make it as well. So
it's probability.
Yeah.
If you're looking at 5'10" to 6'2", there's a zillion of them. There's not nearly as many guys 6'4" to 6'7". So it's probability. One of those zillion is going to be a pretty good football player. Which one? That's the hard part. Yep.
No, absolutely. And I mean, prototypes do matter. And it's just the odds of guys hitting there. It's the one thing that I like. It's arm length, Joe Thomas had 33 or 32 inch arm length. Well, God, how many Joe Thomases have there been? You're talking about an absolute anomaly there. Or Tom Brady went in the 6th round. Okay. That doesn't mean every quarterback drafted in the 6th round is going to be Tom Brady.
With a small enough sample size, you can prove any point you want to. I should be looking at Walmart or whatever, discount store that Kurt Warner was working. That's where I need to look for quarterbacks. Good Lord. If I need a Hall of Famer and a 2-time MVP, that's where I should go. Well, why bother with this draft stuff? I mean, look at Kurt Warner. These guys don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Come on, man. It's not how it works.
No, it doesn't work that way. So keeping it going here. We talked a lot of Montreal Washington. Obviously, the pathway for him this season is to the special teams, kick returner, punt returner. I guess my question for you before we move forward is there a pathway for him as a wide receiver? I just don't see it there's some gadget touches for him, but
yeah.
Okay.
No, but Seth Williams will see the field at wide receiver, I believe, before Washington. But he'll get a chance, sure. Mm-hmm. And he'll get a chance in preseason too. He should see several second half of preseasons. See what he can do. Find a little bubble screen. That's basically a punt with the same skills you need as a punt returner. Drop him in the slot. Where you use quick guys like that you try and get the ball to see if they can make plays. But no, he's not going to beat out, the main guys.
Yeah.
But, can he come in and do a job because somebody went down and you need to get him on the field? So play special teams, block your ass off, and you'll have a chance to see the field sometimes.
Yeah. No, good call. The Broncos 5th round pick that happened later, so we're kind of circling back here. Luke Wattenberg. Broncos traded up in the 5th round to go get him. So obviously he was one of their guys. Tested pretty well for Washington. Had a really good 10-yard split and had really good jumps. Solid mover in space. needs to get much stronger, and has crazy good length for the center position. I think 34-inch arm length put him in like the 90th percentile or something for centers, maybe even higher. So really excited about that. And I think the Broncos really do value that arm length from all of the offensive line spots, not just the offensive tackle. So Wattenberg's up there as well. And Lawrence Rivera coming in here talking about helping us out. Thank you so much for the support, Lawrence. You've been triple dipping today. So we appreciate you.
Yep. Thank you, Lawrence, for the stars and that arm length, 34 and an eighth. And then I always look at, I've got my spreadsheet. I immediately go over on the far right where it's in the 3-cone and shuttle. And his agility drills are solid, 7.5, 4.5 on the 3-cone, L-cone shuttle. So good athlete, nice frame. And you get him there and that pick, I don't expect him to be pushing for a starting job right away, but a nice developmental piece that can add some backup and some competition to the room.
Yeah, and I was not lying about the arm length. Just found him in Mock Draftables database. When you put him in through a center, they haven't sorted all the offensive linemen into niche positions. They're all just offensive line, but you can kind of drop them down to put him in center, and 96th percentile arm length with that 34 and an eighth. Also, his jump's pretty good. 68th percentile vertical, 95th percentile broad. So this is one that I don't expect him to be a dude this season for the Broncos. He's going to need a year, I think, in the fermentation chamber, so to speak.
He's a really good athlete at that position.
Yes.
With the frame. He's a good athlete, good frame.
Yep.
That's, again, you talk about traits and building blocks for a 6th-round pick.
Yeah.
Great. I really like this pick.
The only thing where he doesn't stand out is he has really small hands, but he's not playing quarterback. And I'm not an offensive line coach. I know that some people like to have the bigger hands for the grip strength.
Yeah, they're not that small. I mean, they're 9.5. That's about how big my hands are, and I can palm a basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not too small.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, he's not catching the ball, and it's not the quarterback or wide receiver. But for the hand size on that, grips, as you said, grip strength, but that shouldn't matter for hand size as much.
Yeah.
Once he gets those mitts on you. So again, I like the pick here.
Yeah.
You know what else I like, Nick?
Mark stars.
Mark Schrader coming with the big stars. Thank you, Mark.
Mark knows that he got to make hay while the sun's out, because only 2 more Monday shows after this until things start to ramp back up for the Broncos. So we appreciate you, Mark, helping us off on a Monday morning. Also, keeping it going here, Delairan Turner, Broncos' other 5th-round pick this season. Really good tackler, man. I went back and watched Oklahoma, and safety is probably my least favorite position to scout, especially if they're playing a lot of high, because, they're out of screen half the reps, especially not as bad in the Big 12, actually. They do a pretty good job because it's such a spread-based conference that their camera angle's a little farther. But Delairan Turner, comes downhill, very physical tackler. I think he can be a little bit better adding strength to his frame, but he has good form. And I think this is a shoe-in special teams contributor year 1. The real question for me is he going to push J.R. Reed, Jamar Johnson, PJ Locke off the roster? I think there's a good chance for that. There's so many defensive backs right now on this team. Not all of them are going to make it, but I would be shocked given the years of control left, the upside, the athleticism, and the physicality if Turner isn't the 4th or 5th safety.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle for the special team spot, that's for sure. Yep. So who wants to go out there and earn this spot? And if he's a 5th-round guy, he's cheap. You got him for 3 years and cheap. And if I'm looking for an emergency player in my defensive backfield, but a special team stalwart, let's sort it out. Let's get out there and get after it and earn a job. So again, we're saying a lot of the same things about these guys. Where practice squad special teams, we also started from the bottom. That's what you're looking at. We've talked about before. This isn't, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They didn't want to just lead with the Atlanta Falcons because the 6th-round pick should be a starter for the Atlanta Falcons. This isn't one of the teams, one of the dregs. This is a team we're talking about having Super Bowl aspirations. And you're not penciling in 5th, 6th, and 7th-round guys into the starting lineup. You're talking about special teams and depth. And that's where we are in this point of the draft.
Yep. Special teams in depth. I'm really excited to see Turner though. Watch him more. He's going to have plenty of snaps in preseason. So just watching these guys, we've watched them a lot. Again, I wish he was he a little bit bigger? That'd be fine. Maybe even a little bit more athletic to hang in better in man coverage than what I saw at Oklahoma. But 5th-round pick, very good triggering downhill, and going to be a very good special teams guy. So that's great for the Broncos. Moving forward now, Broncos in the 4th round. My favorite picks for the Broncos in this last draft cycle. At pick 116, yeah, I think 116. They took Owuzurike out of Iowa State. And let's get to Kathy first, saying, hello, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Finally able to catch live again, even though I'm late to the party. Mcmillan or Hicks to make the 53. I think Hicks more likely to make it because he's a better athlete and therefore probably a better special teams contributor. But we'll see. Mcmillan is the undrafted free agent out of Eastern Carolina. The Broncos brought him in a pre-draft visit, probably to be like, hey, we like you. We're probably not going to draft you. Please sign with us when the time comes if you don't get picked. So we'll see about that one. But I think Hicks making the 53 specifically for that far end of the back of the roster, it's going to come down to special teams. It's a special teams episode today, guys. At least this so far. So that's what I think.
So, and Ethan says, well, we need a special teams players because our special teams have been anything but. Again, is it attitude, personnel, and or scheming? A little bit of all of them. I think the attitude and the want to on this team is going to improve immensely with the regime change. The scheming is going to change, hopefully for the better, with Stooks as your new coach and your old one over in Las Vegas. You'll never convince me that this isn't a mafia-like made man scenario in coaching. Once you're in, you're in. You can just keep recycling. We'll just move you to different factions. We'll put you on another block to go earn. And then the final one was personnel, and you've addressed a lot of that through the draft to try and up your personnel. So special teams should be much improved this year with the emphasis that we've seen on it in all 3 phases.
Yeah, and Mark coming in saying, I feel like we could have probably gotten Washington pick a round or 2 later easily, taking others available. That's the big thing, but they must have thought they had some intel that somebody else was interested and took him. So Dwayne Stooks, hopefully they got your guy and it works out for you. Owuzurike, I like this pick a lot. It was one of my favorite picks of the entire draft for the Broncos. He's going to have to work on his pad level. He's really tall, so it's always going to be an issue for him. And he can get, out-leveraged pretty consistently at the point of attack, especially against double teams. Very long. I think he actually could stand to lose a little bit of weight, even to get a little bit more dynamic and fluid. I think it's going to be more about the pad level for him versus, adding mass to take on double teams.
Expect him to play nose guard.
I don't expect him to play nose guard. I think he's going to play the Shelby Harris spot.
Okay, because I'm looking at him thinking, at 340, you could actually get a little bigger, and maybe he's playing a nose guard spot. And now he's clogging with that size of his. Again, if he gets underneath you, maybe I'm not getting a push, but as long as I'm not getting pushed back and I use that frame, all of a sudden I'm clogging the middle of the passing lanes. We've talked about the tight end and stuff that you're going to be facing. Well, how about having a 6'6" guy with an 11-foot reach that can get up there without moving? Right in the middle of the defense. So we'll see. We will see.
Yeah, and chat's also saying, Scott, your voice kind of went a little staticky and quick there, so unsure what happened. But Owuzurike, I think he does have a chance to play the nose tackle as well. That's one of the things that the Broncos said in the press conference right after the draft was over, saying his versatility really drew us to him. But I think year one, there's a good chance for him to play that 3-4, the 4-eye spot for Shelby Harris with his length. I think Peyton even mentioned specifically, he can play that 4-eye spot. So that's what it leans to with me. And the leverage issues for Owuzurike, he can still be a guy who can eat up blocks, but I think the leverage issues would be less of a problem at tackle and guard, where you tend to see a little bit more height versus a center and guard who will almost, be 6'1" to 6'3" and can dig him out like a tall tree. So that's one that sticks out here. And Ashton saying, hey, it might be your graphics card there, Scott. So that's way too computery for me. I have no idea.
It might be. I also run my mic through a hub. I might just get a 10-foot USB and run straight into the computer.
Okay. Well, it sounds good now. So Owuzurike, I think this is one of the guys who I think shockingly has a very good chance to be a starter this season. It's going to be a niche role. It's going to be 3-4 base. But I think he's got a great chance to be a starter this year for the Broncos because we don't know about McTelvin. We don't know about Desean Williams, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to have to figure out who's playing that other defensive end spot across from Draymond Jones. I think Owuzurike's got a great chance.
Now, it sounds good now. We'll see how good it sounds. But it was funny. This is a guy, you got me on this guy way before Nick, Owuzurike, and we kind of made fun that he was listed at edge.
Yeah.
when you put him in the mocks. I'm like, how come you took a third edge? Because this edge is 320 pounds.
Yeah.
But again, athlete with that size, the versatility and the possibilities you can use him across all three spots on the defensive line makes him a very, very good pick. I know, well, we've got proof. I know how happy y'all were when this selection was made.
Yeah. Man, day 3, round 4 kicked off with a bang, and Ethan coming in with a bang here. I see purple. Damari Mathis, my favorite pick, and the only one I mocked to Denver at 115. Damari Mathis, we mocked him to Denver a lot, 115. I feel like in those mock draft simulators, we'd always talk about him at pick 96 as well. Sounds like that was the case for the Broncos. I think Scott's jumping out and restarting his computer a bit, so you get to see my mug for a bit with my flag is cattywampus, just like a Monday morning. What's going on here? Thank you so much, though, Ethan. Yeah, Damari Mathis, I think Mathis's role this season will be cornerback 4, and he's going to be battling with Michael Ojemudia. If he can come out this season, and I would expect Michael Ojemudia to be the starter. I think people are sleeping on Ojemudia a bit. I mean, he was middle of the 3rd round pick, and he wasn't terrible his rookie season. He got benched for a bit because of his tackling issues. And so, yeah, everybody come hang out with me. Isaiah says he's going to hang out with me. Thank you so much. But I think Michael Ojemudia last season, dealt with the bleeding hamstring that just could not get right. But he came in week 17. And if you guys have Game Pass, or if Game Pass becomes free during the offseason, you have a little bit of time. Go back and find the All-22 and watch Michael Ojemudia last season, week 17, because he was really good. So I think it would be a little bit of a surprise for me if Damari Mathis beats out Ojemudia this season. But Mathis going to work on his technique. He's a little bit grab happy, going to lead to more penalties in the NFL, which, I mean, instead of a 15-yarder that you see in college, it's, the 40-yarder that you're going to see in the NFL. So you need to work on that. But I think Mathis's role is going to be interesting. I'm curious to see his usage in camp. This is one of those guys that, are they going to trust him to play him in slot and boundary, or are they going to make it really easy for him year 1? Because he can project to all those spots. So welcome back, Scott.
It's a damn fast computer, I'll tell you that. So that's how long it took me to restart the whole thing.
Man, I would be out for another half hour.
Yeah, I should just do that on Mondays. I've been gone all week, come back, letting it sleep. It needs its
coffee. Yep.
And actually, that probably just convinced me to get a new one, because my daughter could use an upgrade. She's graduating from 5th grade, and she plays on one of my old ones. She plays her games upstairs. I'm like, maybe I just go get myself a new one and move this one upstairs.
So we're talking about Damari Mathis here. Role year 1. One of the things that stood out for me, was his physicality, his size, and his tackling, is that he could play slot just as easily as not just as easy, but project as a slot guy beyond Shauna Williams, blitzing, tackling, etc. Really important from that slot cornerback more and more than it's been, and maybe even safety. So do you think they're going to give him that? Are we going to see Damari Mathis line up in all these spots in camp, or is it going to give him okay, you're just going to be boundary this year. Anything beyond that, we can go from there. But first, master the boundary.
I don't know enough about them. How much of a mad scientist is. It's like, listen, let's put you around in different spots, or is it let's keep it simple, stupid, and we're going to give you in one spot, master that one, and then we'll think about doing you. So I don't know enough about this coaching staff about doing different thing about how they would use him. Knowing that he's not really penciled in as a starter, I'd like to cross train him everywhere. I'd like to get him a bunch of different. Tasted a bunch of different stuff and see where she takes to right away. Yep. But we'll see. We'll see what the coaching staff has to do with him. I would give him the opportunity to get some reps all over the place, and find a way to get him on the field based on injuries. We had the same conversation to a certain extent with Pat Surtain last year. And injuries answered that question for us. Listen, we can use him as a rover. We can use him as a jumbo safety, walk up where he's in the slot outside. Oh, wait, we got a couple injuries. You're going outside. And he's great. Yeah. That's the beauty of having versatile players like that, and why you want to take a guy like Pat Surtain, because scheme be damned, schemes change. Yep. Give me the best football player.
Yep. And the more hats you can wear, the more stuff you can do on defense as well. So it will be interesting to see that. And you just mentioned, we don't know what the staff is going to do. What we can go off of is they already want to cross-train Baron Browning, who had a lot of potential last year at that linebacker spot. So based on that information, stretching it across here to Mathis, I would think that they're going to try to cross-train him.
How do we get our best players on the field?
Yep.
How? I mean, that's the coach's job, is to get our best players on the field and put them in a position to make plays. Once you've done that, it's up to them. Sometimes you're like, you'll see a one-on-one. Noah Fant, we talk about that a lot. If I scheme you to be one-on-one and you get tackled, I'm pretty happy with my scheme. Now it's on you. Now, if you get tackled 5 times in a row, now it's on me because I need to find a change. I need to get an upgrade. Obviously, I'm scheming to something you're not capable of doing. We need to change. And now in my mind, I'm thinking I need somebody else.
Yep. Speaking of somebody else, Greg Dulcich, the next pick for the Broncos here, new tight end. His role year one Scott, is Greg Dulcich going to be the week 1 starting tight end?
No.
Okay.
No. Albert Okwuegbunam will be. If that's how you come out. Will he get plenty of reps on the field in week 1? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he will. I think, speaking of Swiss Army knife, you could line him up off the line, off ball tight end, H-back, however you want to do, some fullback. You can use him in a bunch of different ways. You can use him as a jumbo receiver in the slot. He is a jumbo pass catching athlete. I'm going to find a spot. I'm going to make sure there's ways I can get him on the field. As a traditional tight end, no, I'm going to need Okwuegbunam to hold down that spot because he's bigger and he's a better blocker right now.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how that battles out. Dulcich is going to get plenty of reps, I think, for the Broncos on offense this season. Obviously taking him at 80th overall. And I guess the big question is, what's the volume going to be? How much actually is the rookie tight end going to be used? Tight ends is historically a position that takes, 2 to 3 seasons really to get their groove, because you have to learn the offensive terminology like a receiver as much as you have to learn it like you're an offensive lineman. That's a lot, no doubt, for a rookie, especially coming from, Chip Kelly, quick air raid, spread ball there at UCLA. So it's going to be a lot for Dulcich, but he should carve himself out a niche role early on. Maybe he's got to have to improve his blocking. Hopefully everything else will come along, but I think he's going to end up being maybe not the most volume wide receiver, but I think he's the closest to a happy medium, where I think he's a better blocker than Okwuegbunam, but he's a better receiver than Eric Tomlinson. So depending on what they want to do formationally to get the other defense in certain looks, I think there's going to be plenty of reps for Dulcich.
I expect him to see the field a lot. He's a hell of an athlete. We're bagging on a 4.69, but a 4.69 is plenty fast at 6'4", 245. And then you start looking at some of the agility numbers, and he's right at a 7-second L cone. You want to wonder why he can get separation? That's why, because he's got excellent lateral movement and good hands, and he's a former wide receiver. He knows how to run routes and get open, and he's got the athleticism and size to do it. Now, at that size, he's got the body control and to end up playing, to use his frame to shield smaller defenders.
Yeah.
Try and cover this guy with a linebacker running a 7 flat L cone. Try and cover that guy at 6'4", 245. Good luck.
And biggest thing for Dulcich for me is, can he be a good enough blocker this season where teams aren't treating him like Mike Gesicki? Mike Gesicki, great athlete at the tight end positions, but teams are playing him like a wide receiver. And you lose massive schematic advantage if teams are doing that, if you're trying to create better passing opportunities, especially deep and vertically. You want them to cover him with a linebacker. So if you do that, you can run the ball, but then also he's detrimental because they think that the safety then can beat you at the point of attack around him.
This is your Noah Fant PTSD.
Yeah.
You cover me like I'm a wide receiver. I've got 50 pounds on your DB.
Yep.
Do it.
Hopefully.
And single me out and get me in a bubble screen, and I'm dragging that guy for 12 yards. Yeah. That's how the tight end is supposed to be used. That's what we didn't see.
Yeah.
So we just talked about schemes. And if I scheme a 250-pound tight end open against a defensive back in a 1v1 situation, it should be a minimum 10 yards. Yeah. Just dragging a guy.
Yep. 100%. We also have last one here before we get on out of here. Nick Bonito, role year 1. He's going to be a super sub package player. I'm really curious to see how much training he gets at the stack linebacker spot as well as edge. But I think year 1, based on what they've said, he's going to be mainly a third down pass rush specialist, where they're going to try to find out different usages for him. That's probably best case scenario for him year 1. And I actually think Bonito is questionable enough at the point of attack as a run defender that Bonito right now, his role is going to be there regardless. If an injury does happen to Bradley Chubb or Randy Gregory, though, I don't think Bonito's role changes all that much. I think actually Cooper steps up and becomes the new starter, where Bonito actually stays as the super sub guy with a versatile pass rush upside.
I think that makes sense. And you're drafting a guy you don't necessarily want to be a starter at edge right now. You want Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb to play 17 games and be everything you know they can be. And if you have him coming in and playing 20, 25 snaps a game in third downs, great. Great.
Yeah.
We talked about in a 4-3, I can put Bradley Chubb or Randy Gregory, I can put their hands on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I can put them as a true defensive end and then overlap Nick Benito coming around the other side of them, or stunts, speed, athleticism. That could be a lot of fun. We just talked about, how about this? We just talked about the ability for Desean Williams to get in. How about a true 4-3 with two outs, with two edge guys, with Desean Williams and DJ Jones inside. And then this is a pass rush situation with Bradley Chubb and Randy Gregory coming in and end, and Nick Benito, freelancing, picking his spot, LT style, letting him pick his spot where he wants to go. That could be a lot of fun. That could end up being a lot of fun.
Yeah, at some point this summer when it's the dog days and I'm really craving some football, I think I'm going to go back and watch a lot of the Rams last season, and I really want to focus in on the usage of Von Miller and Leonard Floyd, because those guys dropped into coverage a lot for that Rams defense. Now, granted, you have Aaron Donald in the middle, so you can't afford to drop those guys back into coverage, but still, I think this is really leaning into versatility and simulated pressure, because Benito, while he is not a good run defender, for what position he plays, he's a really good coverage guy. I think he looks very fluid in space, honest to God. I know that Ethan's been screaming for a stack linebacker for a while. Maybe that ends up being Benito's role on first and second down somewhere down the line. What was that?
And Browning.
And Browning too. Yep.
That was one guy I left off of there. We talk about athleticism at 245 pounds, a 4-3, and you got Benito and Browning, and then Jonas Griffith in the middle lining up. Or you probably wouldn't have all those guys, but if, let's say, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, where there's some question marks in there, and you're not in a straight dime, there's some versatility and some speed and some attack-minded folks that would be on the field at one time. And then you've got the ability to rotate those guys in and out too, depending on what you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And Eddie Frutos coming in here, get us on out of here, saying, good morning, Nick and Scott. Yo, Broncos country. Can't wait for the season to start. Excited for how the AFC West is going to turn out. It's going to be a battle. Loving it, especially with the dry spell. Well, good luck on your dry spell, Eddie. But the Broncos country is going to be, sorry to tease you. I had to. It's going to be great. We have a lot of fun. Also, I don't recognize this one from Twitch as much. So Twitch coming in, he said earlier, Psycho saying, best guys on MHH. So we appreciate that. He's buttering us up so that way he'll get his comment flashed here saying, I feel the plan this year was to draft more guys that fit places, not instant starters. Plenty of people too bummed about this draft. I thought they killed it. Keep up the good work, guys. It was a fine draft. It was never going to be, walking away with Pat Surtain and Javonte Williams, but you got Russell Wilson. So,
and you know why? You know why? Because here's your number one pick.
Yep. 100%. DWI guys, Ethan coming in from across the pond saying, let's not forget our number one pick, Russell Wilson. The rest of the draft is just gravy. Crazy. Hashtag the closer, hashtag Broncos for breakfast. Yeah, we'll see how this draft plays out. The Broncos didn't need to hit a home run in this draft, but they also can't come away and years from now, oh my God, we didn't get a single starter in this class. There needs to be at least 2 guys that step up and become solid starters, but year one, that doesn't have to be the case for them. As you guys heard today, we didn't peg any of these guys as starters besides Dark Horse. I think there's a Dark Horse chance for Wuzurike to be a starter.
Dulcich.
With that being said, how much of a starter? And Dulcich, yes. Yeah. Dulcich too. Yep. Yes, absolutely.
And Washington, in a sense, he could be penciled in first team. So there's some ingredients here for sure. But again, you picked at 64. Yep. What are you expecting at 64? You expect for a team like this, for a team, again, with Super Bowl aspirations, what are you expecting at 64 to come in and get your best player on offense or defense? No. Well, you got him with number one as DWI guys comes in and says, your number one pick. And you know what? He'll be worth that number one next year too.
Yeah. Yes, sir. And Broncos also getting some picks next year in the trade back with the Colts, which, keep that. I think that is important to keep considering as well. That was a good move to get an extra pick, a top 100 pick next year from the Colts. So shout out to Peyton on that one. And guys, we got to get on out of here. I got to get to the post office because I got to mail in a priority application. So that way I'm not, without a home here in a couple of weeks. So we appreciate you guys. Make sure you're following Scott and I. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I am at Nick Kendell MHH. Also follow us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Find us on iTunes, Huddle Up Podcast, Huddle Up. Scroll down, leave us a 5-star rating and a review. And please smash that like button, or subscribe button, everything on YouTube. Hit the bell so that way you know when we go live. And we'll be back again tomorrow. So Scott has a few things that we can talk about. Maybe Scott and I will chat a little bit later, because maybe I'll write one of those up for the Broncos as well if I have some time today. If Chad gets to it, he still has a bunch in the hopper from me. But appreciate you guys. Scott, what's the rest of your day looking like?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet. I mean, there's always some sort of practice to go to. Daughter's got softball. The boys got soccer. So got to get some work done. Got to get some Mile High Huddle work done. And then I like to chill a little bit in the afternoon. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Sorry I created the chat a little bit late and started 5 minutes late, but we still went a full hour. So
all the more reason to like and subscribe so you get those notifications when we're late.
Yep, absolutely. So thank you guys so much. We will see you tomorrow morning, and hopefully everybody had a great Mother's Day. Shout out to the moms out there. If you haven't called your mom yet, do it. And also shout out to the people who can't call their mom. You guys are in our thoughts as well. But again, you wouldn't be here without them. So shout out to those mothers. Appreciate you guys. Choose kindness, choose compassion. Go Broncos.